Yes, I can send you a link. If you guys don't mind, if you go into the chat and just pop in your contact information in there. And that way I can just make sure I can save it and make sure I got everybody's email addresses as well to put it out there. So thank you guys for getting on and talk about networking. Just to give you a little background on myself, I'm Jacqueline Strominger. I started Leap to Your Success, which is a business coaching, mentoring, and accountability business. And I have been, I've been in Reno for since 2018. I'm from the East Coast, not from the other sister state next door to us. So I'm from the East Coast. I spent years in magazine publishing and in sales and was in network marketing. And one of the things that I also did a stint with as a recruiter. And one of the biggest things I always found was that helping people create their path and where they want to go is really important in creating that vision and accountability and creating their goals. And I just really love helping people, as I love to say, level up or level out. And I wanted to share this about networking really because networking is one of the biggest cruxes or things that people either love or don't like. But it's a huge benefit to our businesses. And I just think I love helping people get out there and make connections with other people. So I wanted to share this. Okay. So let me okay. So there are some key things that I wanted to share about today. And this is not going to be very long. This is literally the only slide that I have. And I will email you guys all my information afterwards. But networking 101, it's a couple of things that I always like to share, and maybe maybe you don't know. And I'm always also open to hearing what some of your best tips are too. So how many of you guys like networking? I should ask first and foremost. Okay. What do you like about networking?
Go ahead, Thad.
Well,
Go ahead, Mark.
I like meeting new people. At all these events, I learn something new about something interesting people are doing, going, and I find it stimulating.
Yep. Yep.
I'd probably echo that. In addition, I think that especially in the field that I'm in digital media, everybody has gone to this kind of myth of the laptop lifestyle, and I can work from Starbucks or the beach or wherever. But the reality is that the human contact, even in Zoom, it's still missing. But that being able to shake someone's hand and look at their, whatever it is that they have to talk about in my hands and feel it and see it. I think that is lost, and it's so important. It's much more powerful than just a Zoom meeting like this. So I kind of building on what Mark was saying, that personal interaction and just getting to know people beyond just what do you do for business, but what's your golf handicap? What are your kids into? Those kinds of things. Just personal relationships are such a big part of business that I think networking is really important, and it's lost on a lot of people right now.
Yeah, that I would definitely agree. David, do you have anything that you want to share about what you like about
Probably
networking?
what we need to do is
yeah, I'll go ahead and talk. What I like about networking is that you can build a small business, but it can be a large business because you don't need 150 people that you have to work with. You only need a few people to work with, and yet you can have a small business. One of the last businesses I was in, I probably didn't sign up 4 or 5 people. They had to have 4,000 people in my downline. Now I couldn't have done that anywhere else.
Right.
And so that's why I like the leverage that you get from networking.
Yep. It's true. And actually, I was just on a podcast the other day, and we were talking about actually going into the office and actually making those connections with people, because I think it's that personal connection is so important. All right. So one of the things that I like to share about networking is, and as it says, tag you are it. I don't know if you guys know this, but obviously having a name tag is really important. Whether you have your own name tag or you have the paper one that you stick onto your chest, having a name tag is really important. But the best thing about your name tag, when you shake somebody's hand, put your name tag not over your heart, but on your right side. Does anybody do that already?
Try to.
So the reason why we do that is when I shake your hand, I'm not doing the sideways glance to look over at you. You're looking directly at the person, you're shaking their hand, and you're looking, oh, I can just say, right, hi, Nate, right? And I can shake your hand. It's really, I cannot begin to tell you how important that is. And as we also know, using the person's name, right? You know, mnemonic techniques, we were taught that if you say somebody's, when you introduce yourself and you introduce and somebody else is sharing their name, to say their name at least 3 times, it's going to help solidify that person in your brain, and you're going to be able to better put a face to a name. You might also be able to, think about, I might say, Mark, he's wearing the blue shirt, right? And I'll, nice to meet you, Mark. And you're not going to say Mark with the blue shirt, but say something about the person also as you're introducing yourself and saying their name. But 3 times does help it stay with you so you can actually remember them. I remember sitting in college and we had to literally go around a room, and I was in psychology, and you had to remember, the 13 things in a room, and it was all based on association with the name and the object. So we want to do those same things with the people that you are meeting. And you can pick something that you want to, like, you might just say, when I meet somebody, I'm going to look at their, their eye color, or I'm going to look at their shirt. Like, I don't remember what people are wearing by their, what they're wearing that minute. It really does help you keep that name in place. Now, I know this is going to sound kind of funny, but when you get into a networking situation and you're there and you're at a place, yes, you are there and you're present, but you need to make sure that you're showing up. If your energy level is blah,
here's some information.
Oh, shoot.
There's some information, right? If showing up, right? If you show up, you have to show up with energy. You have to be energetic, sort of joyful, positive. And I'm saying this because I can't begin to tell you how many people I have met. And it's like, they've got a wimpy handshake, and you don't want to squeeze somebody's hand. Don't get me wrong. Right. But, they don't show up with enthusiasm. So they don't necessarily feel like, you don't necessarily feel that the people there are wanting to meet you, really wanting to meet and connect. If you have to, before you walk into a room, if you have to go and do 10 jumping jacks, or, turn on some music, like whatever is your fun, upbeat music, whatever is going to get you into a mood, do that. Like, some people have a little bit of a routine before they walk into any networking. It's like getting up on stage before you actually give us talk. You probably have something that you want to do. I don't know if you've ever known this, but Tony Robbins, before he goes on stage, he jumps on a trampoline, right? So, like, not that I'm going to tell you to go carry a trampoline in your car or anything like that, but have a routine that you want to, that works for you, so that when you walk in, that you're showing up, but you're really showing up with full presence, and that you're there with positivity. I don't know if anybody does anybody have a routine that they already do? Nate,
I
what's
do.
your routine?
Well, I usually listen to like Motley Crue or something like that really loud before I go in, and and I do just kind of jack myself up and try to, get myself in that fun, personable mindset before I walk into the room. So that's kind of my deal.
Yep, that's good. I like
So
that.
you kickstart your heart and hope it never
Yeah.
stops.
That's exactly the song I listen to. Yes, sir.
And that's not using a defibrillator.
Yeah.
Just kidding. And so speaking of defibrillators and your chest, don't beat your chest. Okay. Number one thing, it's not about you. I mean, you're awesome, right? We know that you're fantastic, but it's really not about you. So don't beat your chest to death. It's not like it's not the whose chest can beat the loudest. It's actually who can be the most humble. So I always like to give the tip or ideas of think of 3 questions that you can ask people that have absolutely nothing to do with business. Because as we know, people do business with people that they know, like, and trust. So if you are, I like to think of like 3 gifts, right? And it's like, it's one of the things that I love to think about. If you're walking into a room and you're networking, you might think of, you know, asking somebody, like I might say, hey, Thad, like what, like nice to meet you. I might say, so tell me, like, if somebody could give you any car, what would be your dream car?
Are you
Or
asking me?
yeah, so what's your dream? What would be your dream car?
It's a 1942 Porsche Roadster. My dad had one stolen in the late 60s, and I've always wanted to replace it for him. So if I could, I would buy it and give it to him.
Oh my
Nice.
God, that's awesome. And what color was it?
Silver.
Ooh, silver.
It was back before Porsche was like the preeminent road machine, the high performance fast.
Yeah.
It was more like a Carmen Ghia, really, more like a VW. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh my God, that's a really nice, that would be a really nice gift. And I would bet they would actually make you feel super awesome doing that.
yeah, I would love to.
Right. So that's pretty cool. All right. So that's a kind of pretty cool exchange. And now I know a little bit more about that. And it's like, so having a question that you can ask somebody. So you're getting to know them a little bit more than just like, hey, this is my business. This is what I do. Right. I mean, that stuff can come later, but really getting to know people and having some questions that you can ask. I also, one of the other questions I like to ask besides car, I like to ask people about vacationing. Like, where do they like to travel? That's like a big thing, because I feel like that you can learn about a little bit more about people if they're adventure travelers or beach travelers going to Europe. It just tells you a little bit about the person, starts a little bit of conversation. And the other question I also like to ask people is I like to ask people what if they consider themselves an adventurous eater or not. And if they are adventurous, what is the craziest thing they've ever eaten? Me personally, I consider myself an adventurous eater. I think the craziest thing I've ever eaten is frog's legs, but I don't really know if that's really considered crazy these days. But for me, that was crazy. And I'm not a bug eating person like that. I draw the line on like crickets and ants and those things. But
what if they're covered in chocolate? I mean,
honestly, I think I would be better if it was like dipped in like apple pie. Maybe. I don't know if I would how I would feel if I saw an ant in my apple pie, but but that's, so not beating your chest, asking questions to get to know people. And then the questions about what you do can come up, but you can really start making and building that relationship with people by asking them some good questions. This is one that I think is kind of funny. Don't be grabby. And I don't mean like grabbing people's body parts. Because I know sometimes at networking events, some people think that it's more of a pickup scene. So don't grab people in any parts of their body, but also don't be just there to grab business cards. Like, don't be that grabby person just to be like, ooh, let me grab. That, because you're not making the relationship. You grab somebody's business card, and now what are you going to do with it? Like, how are you going to follow up with them? well, key thing is you got to make sure you're following up too. But if we're grabbing the business card, if you're grabbing, again, you're not making that deeper connection so that that person's not going to remember you in any way, shape, or form. So that's like to me, that's, again, making meaningful conversations with people. And you might not, you might talk to somebody and be like, you know what, I really don't want their business card. I don't ever want to talk to them ever again. You're not saying that, but but you never know, right? Like, so don't be a grabby person. And that goes to promises. So if you meet somebody and you promise something, stand by what you promise. If you're going to say, you know what, I'm going to shoot you an email tomorrow and text, let's set up a time to connect and let's get together. Do it. If you say you're going to do it, do it. I remember when I was living in New York City and I was out in the Hamptons. I was one of those people that did those Hampton shares when I was younger. Yikes. I met this woman and she had I think her son was 2 years old and we were at an ice cream place and she kept saying, she said, and I tell my son every night before he goes to bed, if he says he's going to call, you better call. And it's the same thing. If you say you're going to call. I know none of you are 2 years old and eating ice cream, but it was something that stuck with me, obviously, many years later, because it's so important. If we say we're going to do something, we need to do it. We need to follow through on those promises that we keep. We don't want people to think that our promises are BS. Now, one of the other things that I like to share with people about networking is, and I'm one of those for me, networking actually fills my cup. I love also connecting with people. But we also, as we're networking, we also want to do things where we can take and deposit into other people's cup so that we can help the person that we're talking to also, if we can leave somebody a little bit better off than when we first met them, then we've done something good. I like to think about it as depositing something in their cup, or thinking about it as the other way is, as you are networking, when you leave the networking event, how would you Yelp yourself? What rating and review would you give yourself? And I like to think about it too, to me, it's how we operate at the end of the day. If I can make somebody feel a little bit better than after I've met them, then I'm doing something good. And I kind of think, imagine if everybody was walking around yelping themselves and making other people feel better. Maybe the world would be a little bit better place right now. But even if it's giving somebody a compliment, you know what, you've got a great smile, or, saying something nice to somebody, and even just showing up and depositing a smile on that person. Smiling is something that is contagious and it spreads in a good way. We've all been in sales and we all have heard, before you get on the phone, if you need to stand up and smile, because the other person on the other end of the phone is going to feel that smile. So it's the same thing. Deposit a smile, deposit a small compliment to somebody. And obviously, we want to make sure that it's a genuine, something that's genuine that you're doing. So that goes back to my next thing, which is really, don't laugh when I say this, my spirit animal is a monkey, but be a monkey. So again, it goes back to being curious about people, curious about what they do, where they live, what do they like about their career, what do they like about what they do. We need to be monkeys and be curious, because monkeys get into things. If you've ever been to the zoo, the monkeys are the ones that are kind of flying all over the place. They're curious. They want to check you out. In a good way, right? So we want to be curious about people and really sort of be that monkey and be curious about people. But at the same time, don't be the monkey that's always looking at who else can I meet? Because if you're the other person standing in front of you, it feels pretty icky, right? So be the curious monkey to the person in front of you, not the curious about the people in the room. Because you can make that time to meet with other people. It's kind of so that you just need to spend that time to network. Or if there's somebody else that you're looking to meet, if you're talking with somebody as well and you're just standing together, turn your body so that you're slightly opened, so that there is an opening with the two people, so that somebody feels comfortable to come up to the two of you talking. I know it's a sometimes we're not thinking about our stance and how we're standing. So I will just say, thinking about standing slightly open, and it's going to sound kind of weird, but whatever side is open, have that foot slightly open too. It's a little position, but people will feel a lot more comfortable coming up to you and the other person if you have that little bit of an opening, so you're not closed off. And if that sort of resonates with anybody, ever been in that kind of a situation where you're like, oh my God, nobody's.
It's a similar thing to when you're talking with somebody and you're just standing there with your arms crossed. You feel very closed, protecting yourself. Maybe you're uncomfortable, you're nervous, but just by opening up and leaving your hands, open helps the conversation feel more open. The other person doesn't feel so like they're invading your space or something.
Right. Yep. Right. And so that sort of also goes very much into the next thing, which is to care, because we have to care about how we are positioned ourselves. So not standing with our arms folded. If you need to have something in your hand, whether it's your business card or if you need to stand like with holding like one hand in your pocket, but having your hands more by your side, or even if it's like slightly open, so that it's an opening for people to come to. It is very true. Like how many people we see standing around like this, it's very comfortable, but it's very closed. It's like even talking in front of a room, if you're standing there talking, use your hands, right? Because that's showing animation is also really important, about that. So again, caring about the other people, it goes back to making those conversations with people. But taking time also, again, if there's 20 people in the room, the goal is not to meet all 20 people. It's really about how many solid conversations can you have with people, so that that when you follow up with them, that you've made a connection, because you never know where those connections are going to go. They might not be your client, but you never know where the referral is going to come from. And that to me is the biggest part of networking. It's how can I create a bigger network of people that I know, like, and trust, so that I can also refer people. So I always think of like, if we can all walk into a networking event thinking, who can I meet and who can I add to my sphere of connections, so that I know that I'm going to be the guy or girl that people know to go to, because I know somebody. I can help make those connections. So I like to think of, let's walk into networking, not necessarily self-serving for us, but how we can serve the other people that we know. And how can we help them? Maybe we're helping our clients, or maybe how can I help the other person that's standing right in front of me? Oh, I know somebody that might be a great fit for you. So this is my networking 101. I'm going to stop my share. And I don't know if anybody else has another tip that they want to share with anybody that they've picked up, or something that's resonated with them. Nate.
Yeah, I have just a couple of tricks. If you're not it seems like everyone in this group. I mean, I've met Mark and David. I believe I've met you too. Anyways, if you're not much of a networker, if you're kind of an introvert, or if you're not good at getting out there, a good thing to do is get in touch with the event organizer. and see if they need someone to take pictures. So, hey, I'm going to volunteer to take pictures at your event. And that way you have something to do, a job, a task, right? And you can walk up to people, hey, can I get your guys' picture? Yeah. And then talk to them. Hey, wow, it's great that you guys came to this event. Tell me a little bit about yourselves and that kind of thing. It's a great icebreaker if you're not the guy that walks up and is comfortable injecting yourself into a conversation or just walking up to people independently. And also having a buddy, have someone there with you. That not that you're clicking with, not someone that you're hanging with, but if you're not really comfortable with being in a room with a bunch of strangers, and that person that you can go back to and just kind of touch base with helps a lot. They can also, if they notice you doing something, like I know I do this all the time. I mean, I'm doing this in networking events all the time, not on purpose, and it's just my go-to, right? Or my hands are in my pocket, or there's all kinds of little things that you've said here. Like, oh my God, I'm so guilty of that. If you have a partner there and they see you doing that, they can catch your eyes and go, or whatever. And so that you can say, okay, oh yeah, I'm standing there with my arms crossed. So those are the two things that if you're not really
Yeah.
comfortable getting out there doing it, those, there are things that you can do to maybe make it a little bit easier for you.
Yeah. But I will say one thing that you did say that I just want to make sure people also make sure, I think it's, and I don't think anybody here would do this, but if you do go to a networking event with somebody, it is really important to divide and conquer, right? So you might go with somebody that you're comfortable with, but make sure that they know that you're going to go connect with other people, because your friend, or the person that you're with, you're there to meet other people. I can't begin to tell you how many times I walk into a networking event, and you see all the people that are just kind of huddled together because they know each other. This is a great time to see your friends, but they're your friends, and you can say to them, hey, you know what? I'm here to I want to meet some more people. So I'm going to go talk to the people over there. And you might even set it up as what is the funniest thing you can learn about somebody, or, make it a little bit of a game if you want to, like, hey, I'm going to ask everybody if they like to eat, chocolate covered ants, right?
But
Right. Not my favorite thing. Or I'm going to find out if they're vanilla people or chocolate people, what's their favorite, ice cream flavor, vanilla, chocolate, strawberry, or cookie dough or something. Right. So we're going to take a fun poll, but again, that goes back to having the time to, think about, before you walk into a networking event, just coming with some questions that you might want to ask people, so that they're somewhat of an icebreaker, and it also just helps you get to know them a little bit better. So,
And then the other thing that I do, after I leave an event, I have my pad and paper in my car just sitting there, and I go through and I make the notes of the people that I want to follow up with, because you might leave with 20 cards in your hand, not intentionally, but that just might be what you have. And then you go, man, most of these people don't fit what I'm looking for business. They might be a great referral partner for me, so I need to follow up with them. But the ones I need, and I make little notes like, talk to this guy, talk to this guy, talk to this guy, and I do try to follow up with everyone as well. It's hard when I'm hosting it because I get so many and I just get inundated with so much to do. But yeah, when I make that connection, I try to make sure that I write it down so that I don't forget about it, the next day, like, who was that guy, or what was it, or if I lose his card. So that's the other thing that you might want to try.
right. That's a good thing. That's really good. So if you haven't already put your contact information in the chat, please put it in there, and I will, I'm going to send out the recording to this as soon as it gets downloaded. And I will also share my contact information, and what I always like to offer everybody, if you are ever curious or would like to have a Passion to Profit strategy session, I do those for free to help people level up, or as I some cases say to people, need to level out. So
I have a question for Thad.
yeah.
Are you still looking for that antique car?
I am. you can buy them for 50,000 or less. I just haven't found the right one yet. But yes, I'm still looking.
But I have a contact that they specialize in classic cars, antique cars. So if you'd like to get that information from me, I'd be happy to get it to you. I don't
I
have it
would love
handy
that,
right
David.
now, but let's connect and then I'll get that information for you.
I would love that, David. Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Okay.
Look at that. I love it.
Already.
All right. I mean, that's really, really awesome. I would love to be the fly on the wall that would, when you get that and you give it to your dad, I want to be there to like witness that, because that just,
I'll probably put it on YouTube or something and get 1 million hits.
yeah, right. Right. You would. You would. Well, with that, guys, I really appreciate you taking the time. If this was helpful for you, just share it in, the comments on Alignable. I would appreciate it. And I will see you guys all tomorrow, and we'll actually get to shake hands in person.
David, you have my email in the chat here.
Oh, I haven't looked at that yet. Yeah, let me look.
David, I don't see yours in here. So if you wanted to, and if you guys are open for it, I can share everybody's contact information with everybody here too. So that you guys, if you're open to that, doing that, I can just put out the email with the recording and just a little spreadsheet with everybody's contact.
And you'll get a thing from Alignable just asking you to review the event. So just give us your feedback there too. We'd really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Great to meet you all. See you
Yeah,
tomorrow.
Yeah,
I'll see you tomorrow.
thank you,
Looking
guys.
forward to it.
It's going to be, we're going to have a good time. Again, come hungry.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Bye now.